Good morning and welcome to our February 26th, 2019 Nicollet County Board meeting. I'd join us to the flag pledge led by Commissioner Lipke today.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John. I'd entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
A motion?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We now have before you the consent agenda. I'm sorry, we have some new employees we need to introduce. Almost missed it. It's a grand group. Where would we like to start?
Health and Human Services and County Attorney today.
Right. Health and Human Services, looks like they're up first.
We always come in large waves.
Well, there you go. We're glad to have you all aboard.
Good morning.
Good morning, Cassie.
I will let our supervisors introduce. We have a new waiver case manager as well as child protection workers.
Great.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am excited to introduce to you Amy Russick. Amy came to our waiver programs area and care coordinator area from the Benedictine, where she had been a social worker there. So we'd had an established relationship with her. She'd been working for the Benedictine for the last 6 years, with 13 total years as a nursing home licensed social worker.
Great.
Welcome.
Good morning. What would you like to share with us about you?
Get closer to the speaker.
Why not a little bit?
I'm from Montgomery. I have 2 little kids at home, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're
Good.
excited to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good morning, I'm Angie Obermiller. I have 2 new child protection social workers. Tyler Ledzinski comes to us from the metro area with some history in corrections and disability case management. And Jill Keller comes to us from Texas. I think she questions that decision someday.
Today being one of them, I'm sure.
Also with extensive history in the disability services area.
Super.
Hi there, nice to meet you.
Tyler.
I'm actually from Wisconsin. I live in the metro area currently, so sorry you guys will have to deal with another Packers fan, but I'm glad to be
That's fine.
here.
It's all good. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Hi, nice to meet you as well. I was born and raised in Missoula, Montana, and went to the University of Montana, so coming back up north hasn't been such a shock as everybody thinks it is. I'm really happy to be back closer to home, and I really like it here, so.
Good.
Great.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you and welcome. Thank you all. Adam County Attorney.
I'm pleased to introduce today Lori Jennings. She started with us yesterday, and so we already had a conversation about having to drive in questionable weather. And so Lori comes to us with lots of experience in criminal law practice, and she'll be doing probably some criminal law to start out with, and then we'll move on from there. So
Good morning.
Good morning. Pleasure to meet you guys.
What else would you like to share?
I'm also an RN.
Oh, really?
So I worked as an RN and as an attorney since 2005. I work in the neonatal ICU in St. Paul Children's Hospital. It's kind of like my part-time weekend gig. This is my main.
Busy person.
Thank you for your service in both counts.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And welcome all of you. Okay, now I think we've proceeded to the consent agenda. Or anything there that we need to discuss, or I'd entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
We have a
I'll
motion?
second.
We have a second?
I do have a question about one of them. About
To the extent you want to pull it off, or do you?
I'd like to just to
ask
get
the
an
question?
opinion, if you don't mind.
How about? Go ahead.
Madam County Attorney, the amended South Central Regional Amtrak Joint Powers Agreement. I serve on that board. We meet twice a year. I remember seeing something about this being updated. Did you find anything in that document that caused us any concern? Mr. Chair, that's all I needed to hear. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have now on our list public appearances. First call for public appearances. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Apparently no one wants to share their time with us today. Last call. No familiar or unfamiliar faces. Okay. And Finance Director.
Good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Chair, members of the board. I come to you today with some procurement policy discussion we had discussed last week at the board workshop. The first one is an updated Nicollet County procurement policy. This original policy was adopted in, I have to get my notes here, 2016. And the changes for this policy, what we did is we updated some thresholds in accordance with Minnesota Statute 471.345. To require sealed bids would be the changes to 175,000. Previously, it was 100,000. And then the other change that we did with this policy is remove language around federal awards, and we created a separate policy for this. Language in this policy is around the Uniform Municipal Contract Law, that same statute I mentioned earlier. The second policy is a new policy that we are looking to get approved today. This would be for federal grants and awards. This policy follows the Code of Federal Regulations, also known as CFR, Title II, Part 200. And the purpose of this policy is to ensure that goods and services purchased for the performance of a federal grant or award are obtained in a cost-effective manner and in comply with federal regulations. This policy had some changes last year, or this, I should say, the CFR had some changes in 2018 that are in this policy. One of them being micro purchases. The threshold is up to 10,000, and the small purchases go from 10,000 to 250,000. So those are some increase in thresholds. Our county will be most impacted by this by Public Works receiving federal dollars. Seth did have an opportunity to review, and pretty much the language is right from that CFR. We reference throughout the policy certain sections of that CFR, and there's a link also in the policy to go out to that language there, and there's a threshold of information, and we just pretty much try to get the key points here. We also looked at other counties and what they were doing, and tried to see that we were in line with other friends in Minnesota counties. So if you have any questions about either of these, I'd be happy to answer.
Commissioners?
Pretty much makes sense to you? Everything?
Yeah. It's the auditors are. They don't. I think our regular procurement policy just had maybe more of a summary. Refer to this, so they wanted, recommended that we get something a little more specific, and we decided to do this separate policy to more for regular procurement. Our department heads can focus on our regular procurement policy, and then if there's federal awards, then they can refer to our separate policy.
Commissioner Moore, you had a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the procurement policy itself, you mentioned the dollar amounts went up. That's just a statutory change. And
That's correct.
Reflects that. I do have a question on the second one.
Okay.
Are we going to be adopting just the first 2 pages, or do the process and procedures also get adopted?
It would be the entire document.
Packet.
Yes. yes, some of it is, I guess, restated in that policy, like the ethical practices. I think, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Kolar.
Yes, thank you. Heather, does this really give us more flexibility?
I wouldn't say we're changing anything that we've been doing in the past. It's just more getting it into a policy, and then drawing attention to those threshold, those, I think what our county, will just, the focus should be on retaining those records when you get those bids, so that if we ever were asked about it, we would have that documentation. And then if it's required to do, the cost or price analysis, that we have that in our records.
I might say that maybe it's just because of the ample pay that we get as county commissioners, but I can't remember a small purchase for $250,000
Right.
in my lifetime.
It's a different reality these days. And
The 250 used to be 100,000.
Right.
That was the change in 18.
And even that was
right.
a large, small.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but all of these recommendations came through our auditor or our audit process to formalize some of these things also? Was that
Correct. That's correct.
Okay, so we're really trying to be as compliant and as transparent as we can on the audit reporting. Correct?
Yes, yes.
Mr. Chair, I'll add that basically 99% of this is state and federal law. We are actually more restrictive on the first procurement policy based on state statute. State statute says you only need to, or you can make purchases under $25,000 on the open market without getting 2 quotes. We several years ago added a provision that says we require 2 quotes if the purchase is under or over 10,000, just to make sure we're getting those quotes. Which department heads, even on a 5,000, 6,000, depending on the purchase, often we'll get 2 quotes anyways. But we did make that piece more restrictive. And on the CFR piece, I actually like that the auditors recommend we put this in policy, because if you ever sat down and tried to read the CFRs online, it's very cumbersome and confusing. Yes. So it is nice to actually pull this out and have it in a more usable document.
Are there any other questions, discussion? Madam County Attorney, would it be best appropriate to implement each policy separately in a separate vote? I'd entertain a motion for the original Nicollet County procurement policy as adopted.
I'll move it.
We have a motion?
Second.
Have a second? Call the question.
Tomorrow, was that you that second?
Lipke, second, sorry.
Okay. Kolars?
Yes.
Lipke?
Yes.
Morrow?
Yes.
Transil?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes. And I'd entertain a motion for the new policy on the Nicollet County Federal Grant and Award Procurement Policy.
I'll move that.
Have a motion?
Second.
We have a second from Drannell. Call the question.
Lipke?
Yes.
Transil?
Yes.
Morrow?
Yes.
Kolars?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there he is. Live direct from SDSU.
Yep. I'm doing good. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board and staff. Several items for the board's consideration today, and I also have a couple informational items, if I so may add, at the end of those 3 items. The first item today for the board's consideration is to consider final payment for our 2018 bituminous overlay projects. This contract, we perform bituminous overlays on County Road 14, County Road 1, 20, 74, 76, and 25. The total final value of that contract was $2,962,715.36. We're requesting today that the board authorize the final payment on that contract in the amount of $101,337.73 to OMG Midwest, also doing business as Southern Minnesota Construction.
I'll move it.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
The next item is consider an LRIP application resolution, and LRIP stands for the Local Road Improvement Program. And in your packet, there should be a one-pager fact sheet that gives more explicit details about the Local Road Improvement Program, and the resolution for the board's consideration is also attached. Currently, there is no funding set aside for the LRIP program, but the Local Road Advisory Committee is recommending that projects be solicited basically to show the need that exists on the local road system for funding to make improvements to these roads. So the funding application, the request comes through MnDOT state aid. I'm proposing that we submit an application for a County Road 15 project, which would approximately go from Trunk Highway 111 to County Road 51. It's about an 11-mile reconstruction project. The county is, if the county would happen to be selected, we are eligible up to $1 million in funding from this program. Applications are due by Friday, March 1st. And so a resolution supporting this project and the application process is required. Be more than happy to answer any questions.
So we have a motion for adopting the resolution.
Second.
Second. Commissioner Fullers, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, my third item is to consider an out-of-state travel request. The American Traffic Safety Services Association, which we also refer to as ATSA, their How-To Conference. It's an annual conference that addresses the selection, inspection, or maintenance of all types of pavement marking signs and temporary traffic controls. Typically, every year we send our signing technician, Matt Halitsky, but I'm also recommending this year that Mike Suska, our highway maintenance manager, also attend, just based on what the agenda for this conference has. There looks to be a lot of good topics that would be very relevant to the work that we do on a day-to-day basis. The conference is held in Fargo, North Dakota, March 18th through the 20th. Approximate cost for attending the conference for both individuals would be about $700. This is, of course, included in my budget. As part of that trip up there every year, the old signs that we take down in the county, we drop off at our sign supplier in Fergus Falls, and they hydro strip off the old sheeting, and then they deliver back the old aluminum blanks, and we put new sign material on that. So we kind of kill two birds with one stone with this trip. So again, asking the board to approve out-of-state travel for Halitsky and Suska.
Entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
Have a motion.
I'll second.
He seconds. Any other discussion or questions?
Just hope we don't have a snowstorm when those two are gone.
Right.
Yeah, we hope.
March, our heavy snow month.
It really is a fascinating agenda.
Yeah, it's really good. I would even like to attend, but I need to stay home. I got plenty to do in the office.
We have a motion to second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. You have some informational items, Seth.
Yes, the first item I would like to talk about is the Governor Walz's transportation proposal that I'm sure that most of you have seen. I just wanted to give the board a little update on what, if this proposal would happen to be enacted in the form that it was presented, what it could actually mean for Nicollet County and funding opportunities. Governor Walz has proposed to initiate a 20-cent gas tax increase, which would be phased over 2 years. And then he's also looking at indexing the gas tax to inflation, which would begin in 2023. Also proposing an increase in the registration tax and the depreciation schedule for your tabs. And then also increase the motor vehicle sales tax from 6.5% to 6.875%. And then also authorizing some additional trunk highway bonds be issued over 8 years starting in 2022. I believe also part of his proposal is to roll back the statutorily dedication of a part of the sales tax on auto parts to go back into the general fund. And so MnDOT has run some tables on if all these items would be enacted, what each county and state aid city in the state of Minnesota would receive. If all these are fully implemented, and in 2023, Nicollet County would have an estimated increase of our state aid revenues of almost $1.9 million. That 1.9 million is then split 60% toward construction, 40% towards maintenance. And so you're looking at about $1 million plus for the construction program alone, which this proposal would bring significant dollars into Nicollet County. That's all I had for the board's information. If you got questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer those.
Commissioner Kohlers, you look like a question is forming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. We've had discussions about this with our AMC Transportation Work Group, and certainly this is a bold measure by the governor. Hopefully there can be something that comes from it. When we had our last meeting on February 22nd, the AMC Transportation Committee is forming the idea that we need to stay unified as a group, as your engineers were there as well. There was some talk that if we as an organization, AMC, would say that we're endorsing a plan like this, that 3 or 4 counties may split off from the AMC position. So we're kind of walking a little bit on some ice here. The TFAC, do you want to describe TFAC?
No, I don't. I don't have all that information right here readily in front of me.
Well,
I'll defer to you, Commissioner
okay.
Kohlers.
The organization for the engineers, as I understand, right? The study that they put out said that there are needs for $450 million in state aid highways, our CSAs. Over $1 billion a year is needed in transportation. And in the next 20 years, it's estimated that we need $29 billion. The governor's plan would be $11 billion over 10 years. So what that plan is talking about is dealing just with state roads and some filtering down to counties. But it doesn't answer the county needs or the city needs or the township needs. So my question to you is, and I'm not saying that the Walz plan is not a good plan, it just doesn't cover all of the needs that I think that exist.
No, the plan that he presents, the money flows through the Highway Users Tax Distribution Fund and funds our county state aid highway system. It helps support the state aid funds that townships get. But yeah, it doesn't provide money for our local county roads or local city streets. That money is still generated by local property tax or sales tax.
Right. And the other argument that came up, or not an argument, the discussion point as we're working in our transportation committee, Mr. Chair, is something that I've been hitting on a few times in our discussions on gas tax and what is the reality of gas tax in industrialized nations. In 2013, the Tax Foundation found that the worldwide average for gas tax is $2.62 a gallon. In the United Kingdom, it's $3.44 per gallon. Germany, $3.29 per gallon gas tax. Canada, $1.25 in gas tax. This is 6 years ago. And here in the USA, it's 53 cents. Now, that may have moved up a little bit. So, my point is, what are we afraid of when we talk about gas tax? Earlier in February, the price of gas in where I go was $2.04, and today it's $2.37, and it goes up whenever it wants to go up. And our state sees not a dime, not a nickel, not a penny of that to help reinforce our infrastructure, rebuild our infrastructure, keep our infrastructure safe. And so I want to thank you, Seth, for being part of the engineers who are walking hand in hand, we hope, with commissioners as we at least have a unified voice and try to bring energy to the discussion that will be the transportation bill this year.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Seth, for that. Just to follow up on the $1.9 million figure, Seth, that you mentioned, the $1.9 million, you said the increase.
Yep.
I know you said it'd be significant, but could you give a little more texture to that?
What does 1.9 million buy you?
Right.
10%?
Let's just say a full reconstruction of 1 mile road typically in the rural area runs you $1.5 million. Doesn't go very far, but some is better than nothing.
And that answer gives a sense as to the cost of doing projects.
Yes, exactly.
To that, Mr. Chair, I think numbers you ran a few years ago when we were looking at sales tax and wheelage tax and how that would fill that gap. The wheelage, I think you estimated about 3 to 3.5 million. Let's use 3.5 million of shortfall over a 50-year time frame. We're going to take in, let's say, 1.5 million of sales tax and maybe a little bit more, 1.8 million of wheelage tax and sales tax combined. So, add another $1 million for construction. We're still at about 800,000, quick math, of shortfall, right, even with this projection.
And 2 miles of new road, maybe.
And that's real rough numbers, but that kind of gives you an idea of where we're still short.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. What is your total budget year like last year? Public Works.
Oh boy, you're asking the hard questions, Commissioner.
Sorry.
Every year fluctuates a little bit depending on what we do for actual construction projects. Brings
average.
more revenue or less revenue, but I think last year it was close to 8 million to run Public Works.
But that doesn't include the state and federal funds you got to help with the road?
No, that includes state, federal, local levy.
So you're about 20% of the budget, is that right?
Yeah, an $8 million budget and your levy's about 1.5 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Something like that, so a little, actually less than 20%.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And Mr. Chair, I just want to acknowledge the discussion that we had earlier. We realize that transportation needs funding. We realize that education needs funding. There are many, many needs, and it may be very difficult to answer them all at this particular legislative session, or 5 more following it. So, but it looks like at least this governor is giving voice to what those needs are, what the outcome will be, is probably part of some grand bargain down the road. I would ask the former state legislator if that's a good assessment of where we might be coming from.
Well, I think it's a fair assessment. You know, Seth, I thank you and your department in figuring out what you can do with the budget you have. And I think it's just important for folks to know what the true costs are of doing projects and the constraints under which you're operating.
In Nicollet County, we have a real need to continue doing full reconstructions, and it becomes very apparent what reconstruction projects do for you, not only increasing the quality of the pavement and load carrying capacity, it also has ramifications on how they react during severe winter weather. As we've seen, just about every county road in Nicollet County was completely closed with this last blizzard due to drifting and whatnot, but our most severe drifting is typically on our roads that have not seen a full reconstruction. You know, they were built in the 30s, 40s, and 50s and have very, very bad snow traps. And so as we do those full reconstructions, we improve those snow trap areas, which makes it easier to open the roads up when we have weather that we've been experiencing.
Mr. Chair, on Jack's comments there, I did talk to Senator Frantz on Saturday at the listening session he had, and I asked him to get a crystal ball on the gas tax increase. He said 10 cents. It's his estimation of what's going to come.
And that'll be a compromise that'll kind of pay off the debt and get us to where we need to go. But it's a start, if it can be agreed to.
Anything else? I just have one question myself. How are we doing with salt?
Oh, that was going to be my whole next topic.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I jumped ahead. I apologize.
Sure. So if we're done talking about transportation funding.
Funding issues? You're good. None. Okay.
All right. Talk a little about snow and the blizzard that we just survived. I've been getting lots of questions about where the budget is at in relation to that. Everybody asks me, well, how do you even budget for weather that you can't ever predict? Well, typically I take the 5-year average of what we use for salt and sand, and also for overtime to have a budget target number. And of course, some years. Pardon?
Have we blown through that?
Well, I'll get there.
Oh.
Some years we're under that number, some years we're over, but Road and Bridge maintains a healthy balance. And you need to rely on that sometimes when we have years like we're experiencing. So that definitely helps to cushion that severe impact of expense when the weather is just this bad. So 2019 budget, so maintenance overtime, we've been burning through overtime like crazy. We're already at almost 86% of the budget for overtime, and we got the snowiest month typically of the winter coming up yet, and then of course we got to get through October, November, and December at the end of the year. So I fully expect that we will far exceed what our budget number for overtime is, but it is what it is, and like I said, we have a healthy reserve to pick up that shortfall. We've purchased approximately 46, getting close. They're probably ordering some more salt today, but we're probably at 50% of our salt allotment for the entire winter season. So what helps us out at this point in the year is that the sun angle's getting higher. The sun's got a lot more power that it transfers to our pavement, so it can, on a nice calm day right now, it could be 10 degrees out, but our pavement temperatures on our blacktop roads will be starting to get close to the mid to upper 30s, and so salt is quite effective with pavement temperatures of that nature. Typically, salt kind of loses most of its melting capability once you hit 15 degrees and lower, but like I said, we get in this time of the year, the sun's got a lot more power, and that salt starts to work a little bit better, and so we've actually cut down the amount of salt that we mix with our salt and sand, because that sun is starting to help us and try to get a little bit more longevity out of our salt reserves that we have. And so hopefully we're going into October, November, and December with some salt still on hand. So not too worried about the salt situation right at this point, but we'll see how she goes. Yesterday was real tough on the guys. Like I said earlier, every road in Nicollet County was drifted shut to some extent. Some roads much worse. I believe, talking with our grader operator out of St. Peter, it took him over 2 hours to go from Trunk Highway 22 up our County Road 20 all the way to the North County line. He operates a motor grader with a V-plow on, and it took him that long just to punch a one-path hole all the way up there and back. That was the kind of the story all across the county. We had multiple units with V-plows on to get the roads open, and they did a very good job yesterday. Nothing was broken, so that's always a plus. Few trucks, everything's just white at this point. You don't know really where the edges of the roads are. The guys are trying to turn around. There's probably a few of them that dropped a wheel over here and there, and once you do that, you're stuck. So a few guys had to be pulled out, but like you said, no damage, which is always great. I sent my video team out yesterday to document some of the action, and so Nate's got some videos of snow plowing and some pictures of what the guys were facing out there that we wanted to share with you guys today.
Can you get the camera on that, Lynette?
The weather was so bad on Sunday that the maintenance manager did call the guys in. He was already out at probably 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and the winds had actually kind of dropped, and so he was somewhat optimistic that we could go out and plow. The guys came in, but as soon as they got in, the winds ramped right back up, and we never ended up going back out that day. But the guys were able to do some maintenance work and get V-plows and do some preparatory work, so they're ready to go first thing yesterday morning.
Did you find any stalled vehicles?
They were all over.
All over.
They were all over. It's very disappointing when you have life-threatening conditions that we have, and numerous media outlets and MnDOT all telling everybody to stay home and do not go out. And we have hundreds upon hundreds of motorists that take it upon themselves to go out in those conditions and get stuck in our roads and whatnot, and that's extremely dangerous.
Sheriff Lang shared with me yesterday that on Sunday they had endless calls coming into dispatch, people stuck on the roads wanting the sheriff's department to come get them, and that's not the role, especially when roads are closed. And the message is
people made some choices.
You need to call a tow truck, which the tow trucks weren't moving either. So
Mr. Chair, some of those individuals that were calling the sheriff didn't respond to some of them. They were dressed in shorts and t-shirts. They weren't even dressed appropriately for the weather.
The worry with a blizzard like this, if you get cars completely blown and covered, we can't see them when we start opening roads up. And as deep as the drifts can be, you usually hit those fairly hard with a V-plow, and those V-plows, they'll sever a vehicle right in two. And so that's a real worry for us. And when you have that many cars stuck on the roads, it just slows our snow clearing operations down a lot.
Do you have some more that you wanted to share? Did you have the motion picture also?
Yeah, we got a couple.
Where was that first picture, Nate?
This one?
The previous one.
The one with the car in the ditch.
That was just west of 22 by Anthony Togsback Road.
Okay.
I will add on that picture there, I know I mentioned last time the need for a purchase of a blower at some point. This is a perfect example of where a blower could push some of those intersections open and create sight lines for the traffic again, or as Seth mentioned, the V-plows punched holes through a lot of the drifts, but a blower would be nice. Had we got the snow that Owatonna had got and not having a blower, we'd have a real mess right now.
So Nate's got kind of a progression of pictures here as the V-plow hits one of those big drifts.
That's great. Wow.
And right between those two photos, you can see as hard as that drift is, it kicks the back end of that motor grader out. That's just how hard those drifts are.
Has it been 5 years since we had the V-plows on?
I don't think we've put one on since about 2014.
Gotta
And
figure out how to do it
this
again.
is real similar to what 2014. I mean, it was almost like we had a blizzard. I think the 21st of 2014. So timing is eerie.
Who's your video team?
This was on a tripod, this next video.
Finish surface elevation of the road up higher than the adjoining farm fields.
So that helps
And
quite a bit.
Oh yeah, significantly. There's that tab on that motor grader.
Well, and they only have a limited speed, so you're only going to cover those roads so quickly.
And so from looking at those pictures, you can only imagine if a vehicle is buried in a drift and V-plow, I believe, in Klausner, so we can hang a V-plow on that motor grader also. But our trucks, some of our trucks are also set up to be able to hitch onto a V-plow, and several of the trucks yesterday had V-plows on too. You got to be a little bit careful when you're punching through with a V-plow on a truck. If you hit it too hard and you go too far in the bank and you don't blow all the way through, that snow will blow out and it'll come sifting right back in under your front tires, and then you're sitting and you need to be pulled out. Now with the motor grader, something like that happens sometimes. Since those motor graders articulate in the middle, they can kind of wiggle themselves out or put the moldboard down and kind of inch their way back. So typically it's a little easier to do V-plow work with a motor grader. But
Mr. Morrow has a question.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, it's a thank you to Seth and everyone at Public Works. I had the opportunity to go out and plow last Wednesday, which I thought was a challenging day, and it was amazing. I just want to report back the tremendous work that I hope you'll pass along that the entire crew was doing. I was incredibly impressed both by the time, the commitment to doing it right, and really taking seriously, Seth, what you said earlier. When folks say stay off the road, they mean stay off the road. As we were out there and the plow was getting stuck and the inability to see where the road was. I want to credit your crew for the professionalism it showed in working in hard hours, difficult conditions to clear the road. So thank you for the opportunity.
well, thank you for going out there. And Commissioner Morrow actually went on a day that was, I would say, a pristine, beautiful day for plowing, even though we got a foot of snow last Wednesday. It's not too often you get a foot of snow and the wind doesn't blow. It comes straight down, and so visibility was actually really good. It's a whole different story when you get 30-mile-an-hour winds and you got a foot of snow on the ground and it's in the air also. It makes it very difficult.
Anything else? Again, thank you. Madam.
Suggest if possible, Mr. Chair, that those videos would be great to put on our website, just so that people can see the work that your department is doing.
I think
You can
that's
probably make that happen. That's a good photo.
Yes. Yeah, that is good. Yeah. Thank you and your staff for all your work.
Thank you.
It's appreciated. And I think we have proceeded to administration.
Mr. Chair, I just have a couple meeting announcements, so I'll wait till that item on the agenda here in a few minutes.
Okay, and I have a note here. Jamie, did you have some discussion on some status items? Did you want to talk about?
I'm sorry.
There was the human resources note in our agenda packet. It didn't have an agenda item, but I was included in the packet. Did you want to report on some of those? Was it under informational?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry. My light is on, but I'm not at home. I apologize.
That's the replacement hearing.
Thank you. So, the chair's report. The chair has been absent, so he has nothing to report. Commissioners, starting with Commissioner Kolars.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We attended the AMC Legislative Conference in St. Paul from the 12th through the 14th of February. We talked about that a little bit here earlier. Also was at the County Transportation Focus on the 15th. February 19th, Board Workshop. February 22nd, the AMC Transportation Workshop, and we were supposed to have our MVAC meeting last night, but it was canceled because of weather. Will be held tomorrow. Thank you.
Commissioner Riddle.
Nothing to report at this time.
Commissioner Morrow.
In addition to the AMC legislative meetings that Jack just mentioned, had an opportunity at those meetings to attend Health and Human Services meetings and talk with Commissioners Lori and Commissioner Malcolm about some issues that actually came up in our workshop last week, so it was timely. And as Jack mentioned, weather rescheduled a number of meetings are now going to happen this week and next week.
Yes. Commissioner Lipke.
Well, went to the AMC. Got there Tuesday evening and sat in on a good chunk of the rural counties meetings. They seem to have the same concerns everybody else does. Went on the next day and got to visit with Jeff Brand. I got there early and our veterans officer, Nathan Tisch, was waiting in the wings. So he kind of invited me along in, so I sat through his meeting. And then the Blue Earth County people came in and we had our meeting with Jeff Brand, and I thought it went quite well. Then I accompanied them. Then I actually went and visited with Paul Torkelson. I had lunch with him and the Brown County people who invited down there. Brown County had 10 people in that little room with us. Went with Blue Earth County to Nick Frentz, had a nice meeting. Went along with Blue Earth County to Julie Rosen. She had a lot of people. Went and visited with Rod Hamilton for a while, who I've known because of my MNSP days. Visited with Chris Swadinsky from the Marshall area, I believe. Went to the reception with Jack and Terry, and we visited with Gary Dames and is it Jeremy Munson? Is that their name? For a while. Went to the 2 comprehensive plan meetings here, whenever that was, last week sometime. Went to the Veterans Banquet in Lafayette with our veterans officers. They picked me up and dropped me off at home, so that was nice. And went to the workshop with the rest of you, and on Saturday went to the listening session that Jeff Brand and Nick Frentz had.
And then we are on to approval of meetings and conferences.
Mr. Chair, just a couple announcements on meetings. I forgot to include it on the notice of scheduled meetings, but March 8th, there's a transportation hearing in Mankato at Mankato City Hall from noon till 3 p.m. that I think some of us plan to attend. And then I just saw AMC sent notice out of their leadership training in April. I know myself, Jamie, and Cassie are going for sure, and so if you want to attend, just let Lynette know and she can get you signed up. That's all I have for that.
Entertain a motion to approve meetings and conferences. Are we done?
We don't.
And we'll
no
per diem, or we'll approve
no
per diems
motion
and expenses.
Yeah, no motion needed for that. Per diems, there is a motion. Sorry.
We do need a motion for per diem.
I'm waiting for it.
Oh,
that's.
moved.
I'm sorry.
So
Okay,
moved.
did I miss something?
Carrie?
Yes.
Second.
Commissioner Morrow, Commissioner Lipke, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Stop the presses. I have a note here. Madam County Attorney, you have a couple of items you'd like to share with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to remind the board that on March 1st, we'll start our 3rd annual Freedom for Plastic Food Drive. Food Drive Month, and so there is a competition that my office sponsors, that the department with the most collections gets the bragging rights of a traveling trophy, and also gets some of my peanut butter balls. So that will start, and we'll be distributing those. And then last night, the St. Peter High School had presentation of screenagers. And despite the fact that it was a snow day and school was canceled, we went forward with the presentation, and there was 120 people there. And it was a really good conversation. Continuing the series of Raising Our Community's Children is kind of what we're calling the series. It's a continuation of the drug presentation that happened in October. So it was a real good discussion about limitations and impact of screen time on kids and parents as well. So it was a good effort by all those involved.
Anything else? Any questions for County Attorney? Anything else for the good of the cause here before we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a
Second.
motion.
Second.
Second.
We had it already.
No. I said not. Oh, okay. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We will be adjourned, and we will convene the Drainage Authority meeting at 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. Sorry. I would like to call the Drainage Authority meeting to order and accept a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second. Morrow seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Hearing none, we have approved our agenda. And our first item on that is a consent agenda, which entails the minutes from the last meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second. Colars. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries. We are now going to commence in our public hearings on redetermination for County Road, or County Ditch 46A, County Ditch 49A, and County Ditch 72. We will proceed in order, if that's acceptable. We will now open the public hearing for redetermination of County Ditch 46A, 49A, and County Ditch 72. I would invite Jackie, who is in front of us, to present the notification of hearings.
Good morning, Board Chair and members of the board. This notice has been mailed and posted on February 7th, 2019. It was published February 7th, February 7th, 14th, and 21st of 2019. And that was published in the St. Peter Herald and the Lafayette Nicollet Ledger. And I also want to point out that the proposed benefits have been given to the Drainage Authority prior to this meeting through an email that you'll be referring to.
Thank you. I call Mr. Behrens to the table and give us a brief description on County Ditch 46A.
Good morning. I'm Mark Behrens, one of the viewers that worked on this, along with Bob Hanson here, and there were two other gentlemen that worked with us on this redetermination of benefits for 46A. We had, on all of these three ditches that we're talking about, we've had two informational meetings with the landowners to talk about the redetermination of benefits, how we go about our work, how we come up with benefits, and to learn from them anything that might be unique about their parcel or their property or the whole ditch systems. We build a book like this on every single ditch that we work on. It's got every single parcel, how we broke out the parcel, what type of soil they have, and invite any of the landowners at the meetings. We're happy to show them exactly what we did on their property and how we did it. You've got a map there on the county and where these three different ditch systems are located within the county. On 46A, we've also got a map of the ditch system itself and a information sheet that talks about that County Ditch 46A. It was originally established in 1907. This ditch system is all open ditch. There's no county tile on this system. There's about 6.4 miles of county open ditch. Total with farmland, building sites, and roads, there's about 5,600 acres within the watershed of 46A. 46A is unique. We've worked on a lot of different ditch systems. 46A has got a dam basically in the middle of the system that holds water back on about 2,000 acres. You've got a map, or not a map, but a photo there in the information that was handed out that shows that dam on this system. So all the acres that are upstream of that dam have a reduced drainage coefficient because the water is being held back. We treated those acres different. They have smaller benefits because the drainage system doesn't do them near as much good because of that dam holding the water back. As you know, on a redetermination of benefits, there has to be a one-rod grass strip established along the shoulder of the open ditch. What we've done in the past with Nicollet County, the assessor's office has a value per CER that they use, and we use that same value on the CERs to establish a value for that one-rod grass strip. And it nets out at $7,959 for that grass strip that has to be acquired. It's $111 per CER. The CER rating in these townships is 71.7. So there's a little over 19 acres of grass strip that has to be acquired. We've got two different rates that we pay that grass strip on. If it's cropland rate or cropland acres, we use 100% of that $7,900. If it's through a building site or non-farmed land, we use 10% of that value for that rate. So we've got 19.6 acres at $7,900. There's $156,000 of easement that has to be acquired for that grass strip on cropland acres. There's 3.4 acres that has to be acquired on non-benefited acres at $796. And as you know, we've also got a construction easement in all the different counties. We work in 10 or 11 different counties, but there's a 100-foot construction easement that goes from the center of the open ditch and out each way. The actual open ditch, that was paid for when the ditch was established 100 years ago. The 16.5 foot will be established now, that easement. What we're talking about on this construction easement is the 50 or 60 feet that are outside that 16.5 foot grass strip. And that is paid at 5% of land value. And the reason that is established now with more and more absentee landowners, it's kind of an insurance policy. If the county needs to get out there and do some work, they do have the right to be outside that 16.5 feet if they need to spread spoils or anything out there. And if they wreck any corner beans, obviously they aren't going to be out there unless they have to be. If they wreck any corner beans, the landowner would get paid for any damages on the crops that are ruined. But there's 87 acres of this construction easement paid at 5%. There's $34,000 there of construction easement that has to be established. So the total easement costs on this ditch system on 46A is just short of $194,000. By ditch law, on the information that we send out, we have to have an estimated assessment on the spreadsheet that all the landowners got. And it's a guesstimate. We used $199,000 as that estimated assessment. That covers the easement costs, maybe some engineering costs, possibly some admin costs, and some viewer costs. So that's the number that we used, $199,000 for their estimated assessment. And after we did all our work on this system, we obviously have to figure out benefits. And the benefits on this system over a 25-year period are just over $7.3 million of benefits. That's kind of the Reader's Digest version. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Barron on this, on 46A? Thank you. This time I would like to ask and open the public hearing for comments on 46A. Do we have anyone here that would like to speak to that issue on 46A? Third time. Anyone for 46A? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. At this time, I entertain a motion to approve benefits presented to us for 46A.
Also move.
Commissioner Lipke motions.
Second.
Commissioner Drennel second. Any specific discussion? Hearing none. Call the roll.
Lipke?
Yes.
Rantle?
Yes.
Marl?
Yes.
Hobart?
Yes.
Knell?
Yes. The proposed findings have been given to each of you as board members, and at this time I would like you to review all of the findings as indicated in the findings document.
Mr. Chair, did we receive any, did Jackie receive any input from anybody unable to attend today?
I did not.
Didn't?
Question, Mr. Chair. That dam, that is a DNR requirement, or? Okay.
Please go ahead.
I've got just a little background on that dam. There's a Swan Lake Area Wildlife Association. I'll just read this. Around 2007, the Swan Lake Area Wildlife Association sued Nicollet County regarding the dam at Little Lake, the one that you see the picture of. A sheet pile dam was constructed in 1950 to control the level of mud and little lakes. Over time, the dam failed. Water was noted flowing underneath the dam in 1977. No repair of the dam was made. There's a bunch more here, but at the conclusion, the court ordered the county to repair the dam at an established elevation of 973.2. So it's a fixed crest dam. It can't go up or down. And to be honest, I don't know. You can't move it up or down, so there's nobody fixing on it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other queries? After you having reviewed the findings, I'd entertain a motion to approve the true and accurate findings, which is item 9 on the findings list.
Specific finding is that the reports made by the viewers, new or as amended, which in this case there was no amendment, are completely correct.
Do I have a motion?
Also move.
We have a motion. Second? Second. Commissioner Drannel? Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also entertain a motion now to approve all other findings as proposed. Excuse me?
And I would suggest consideration by the board of finding number 7 in light of the fact that there was no public comment offered, that finding be amended to reflect no public comment was offered during the hearing and no written comments were received prior to the hearing to more accurately reflect what occurred.
So we are going to amend that in that motion? Or do you want a separate motion?
That would be the finding that you would be proposed, yes. You were gonna ask me to read these into the record.
Right.
And so at that time, if that's the finding that the board would entertain, I would put that finding.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, then if I might, kind of turn to you, would we then amend finding 7 to read no public comment or questions were received?
With that amendment, Mr. Chair, I would move findings 1 through 8 and finding 10. Yeah.
Need a second?
Second.
Commissioner Kolars. Any other discussion? Does that meet all of our statutory requirements to your satisfaction, Madam County Attorney? Any other questions? Call the question.
Morrow?
Yes.
Kohler?
Yes.
Yes.
Randall?
Yes.
Nope.
Yes, unanimous. Thank you. Did you have anything else that you wanted read to the record specifically, or are you accepting that as?
I would change motion to read it, to find specific things that are reflected in the public record, or viewing them.
I would appreciate that. I think that's a solid approach if you're willing to commence with that.
Before the Nicollet County Board of Commissioners acting as drainage authority for County Ditch number 46A, findings of fact and order regarding redetermination of benefits for Nicollet County Ditch number 46A. The drainage authority, having completed its deliberations, its examination of all files and records herein, its hearings of all interested parties, and its consideration of all reports, makes the following findings. Number 1, redetermination of benefits was ordered for Nicollet County Ditch 46A. Number 2, Mark Behrens, Robert Hanson, Kendall Langstaff, and Joe Mulchford were appointed viewers to submit a redetermination of benefits report and a benefits and damages statement. The public hearing was held on February 26, 2019 in the Commission Center of the Nicollet County Government Center in St. Peter, Minnesota. Public Services Manager Jack Pulpit provided the following jurisdictional documentation and notices. A, affidavit of posting dated February 7th, 2019. B, affidavit of mailed notice dated February 7th, 2019. C, affidavit of publication the weeks of February 7th, 14th, and 21st, 2019. Viewer Mark Behrens explained the method of determining benefits and damages under the redetermination of benefits and went through the viewer's redetermination of benefits report and the benefits and damages statement. The viewer's report as filed showed $7,352,560 in net benefits associated with Nicollet County Ditch 46A. Viewer Mark Behrens explained that under Minnesota ditch law, the drainage authority is required to acquire a one-rod grass strip as part of the redetermination. The effective date of the acquisition was discussed and determined to be March 26, 2019. A letter will be sent to each landowner about the grass strip if needed. The link on Commissioner Morales suggested language, no public comment was offered or received. Correct? Is that correct? Number 8, the detailed viewing redetermination of benefits report and benefit and damages statement was made and all of the proceedings have been completed as required by law. Number 9, the reports made or amended are complete and correct. Number 10, the benefits and damages of the proposed redetermination have been properly determined. Now therefore it is here ordered as follows. Number 1, the viewer's report on file herein and the assessment of benefits and damages stated therein attached to Exhibit A is hereby adopted. Number 2, the redetermined benefits and damages and benefited and damaged areas shall take place of and shall be used in determining assessments from the date of approval. The acquisition of the one-rod grass strip will be effective March 26, 2019 if needed. The Public Services Manager is directed to take all necessary actions to implement this redetermination of benefits, and the appeal period will be 30 days from this, after this order is signed and filed in the County Public Services Office, dated February 26, 2019, to be signed by Denny Kemp, Chairperson of Drainage Authority, attested to by the Impression.
Thank you, Madam County Attorney. That completes all our action on 46A.
Could I ask Mr. Behrens a question, Mr. Chair?
On 46A?
Sort of.
Could it wait till the question for the next system?
Well, it's about the dam.
I guess I could defer to the chair, but the decision has been made.
Either way, I don't care.
No.
I'll ask you after the meeting.
I would now invite Mr. Behrens to join us in discussion of County Ditch 49A.
All right. On 49A, that's a much smaller system. It's a complete tile system. There's about 2,240 feet of tile on this county system and only 187 acres within the total watershed of this system. Again, this one's about 100 years old. It was established in 1908. On this system, we have 359,000 worth of benefits, again, over a 25-year period. And on this system, like we talked earlier on the previous system, we have to have an estimated assessment on the information that was sent out to the landowners. We just used $2,000 as an estimated assessment on this system. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
So just the easement is all you have to worry about?
There's no, it's a tile system, so there's
No
no
easement.
easement.
Oh.
They don't put an easement on top of a county tile.
So if you go in to fix something,
According to one of the lawyers that we've talked to about this, according to him, the county has every right to be out there working on that tile.
okay, and would pay
Obviously,
Drop
damages,
damages.
yes,
Okay. Okay,
if
thank you.
need be.
Thank you, Mr. Behrens. This time I'd like to open this to the public for comments on 49A. 49A. Please come to the microphone. Apparently, we have no one representing or speaking to 49A. As part of that discussion, were there any written comments that were received by your office? Hearing none, I would close the public hearing, and at this time I'd entertain a motion to approve the benefits presented to us for County Ditch 49A.
So moved.
We have a motion. Commissioner Lipke is a second. Call the question.
Randall?
Yes.
Lipke?
yes.
Morrow?
Yes.
Kohler?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes, unanimous. The proposed findings have been given to each board member. At this time, I would ask you all to review those findings. And when acceptable to do so, I entertain a motion to approve item 9, which is the reports made or amended, when I believe there were no amendments, are complete and correct.
So moved.
We have a motion from
Second.
Commissioner Morrow. Granell seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing no opposition, motion carries. I now entertain a motion, and I think Commissioner Morrow has mastered that motion. I'm sorry?
Before we entertain that motion, may I further suggestion?
Please.
In light of the fact that I believe both for 49A as well as 72, there is no buffer strip that are to be acquired for either system.
Right.
So I would recommend that finding 6 of the findings and order number 3 be not adopted because there is no strip that is being acquired. And number 7, what was number 7, be amended to reflect the same language that Commissioner Marlowe suggested on the last.
So, Mr. Chair, if I might, then I don't know if we need this in the form of a motion, but I would, we should move that we delete item 6, delete order number 3 on the second page. And change finding 7 to read no public comment or questions were received. with those changes, I would move findings 1 through 8 and finding 10.
Recording secretary, is that clear? Here, we have a motion?
Second.
We have a second. Any other discussion? Call it.
Morrow?
Yes.
Lippy?
Yes.
Kohler?
Yes.
Randall?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes, unanimous. Now I would ask Madam County Attorney to read in the findings.
Before the Nicollet County Board of Commissioners acting during the authority of Condition number 49A, findings of fact and order regarding the determination of benefits for Nicollet County Condition number 49A. The drainage authority having completed its deliberations and examination of all files and records herein, its hearing of all interested persons, and its consideration of all reports makes the following findings. Number 1, a redetermination of benefits was ordered for Nicollet County Ditch 49A. Number 2, Mark Behrens, Robert Hanson, Kendall Langseth, and Joe Walshler were appointed viewers to submit a redetermination of benefits report and a benefits and damages statement. A public hearing was held on February 26, 2019 in the Commissioners' Room of the Nicollet County Government Center in St. Peter, Minnesota. Public Services Manager Jackie Colpit provided the following jurisdictional documentation and notices: affidavit of posting dated February 7, 2019, affidavit of mailed notice dated February 7, 2019, affidavit of publication the weeks of February 7th, 14th, and 21st, 2019. Viewer Mark Behrens explained the method of determining benefits and damages under the redetermination of benefits and went through the viewer's redetermination of benefits report and the benefits and damages statement. The viewer's report as filed showed $359,987 in net benefits associated with Nicollet County Ditch 49A. Number 6, no public comments or questions were received. Number 7, the detailed viewer's redetermination of benefits report and benefit and damages statement has been made, and all of the proceedings have been completed as required by law. Number 9, the reports made are complete and correct. Excuse me, that would be number 8. Number 9, the benefits and damages of the proposed redetermination have been properly determined. Now therefore it is ordered as follows. Number 1, the viewer's report on file herein and the assessment of benefits and damages stated therein attached as Exhibit A is hereby adopted. Number 2, the redetermined benefits and damages and benefited and damaged areas shall take the place of and shall be used in determining assessments from the date of approval. Number 3, the Public Services Manager is directed to take all necessary actions to implement this redetermination of benefits. And number 4, the appeal period will be 30 days after this order is signed and filed in the Public Services Office dated February 26, 2019, to be signed by Denny Kemp, Chairperson of the Drainage Authority, attested to by Ryan Fresh, County Administrator.
Thank you, Madam County Attorney. This concludes our efforts on County Ditch 49A. I'd ask Mr. Behrens to join us again for discussion on County Ditch 72.
All right, County Ditch 72 butts up against County Ditch 49A that we just talked about. This one was established in 1926. The cost of construction in 1926, it's interesting, was $4,985 to build that system. It's got 6-inch all the way up to 18-inch tile. There's about 10,840 feet of tile total in this system of county tile. Not private, but county tile. There's about 418 acres. That includes farmland building sites, county and township roads. Again, the benefits that we determined using obviously acres, soil types, and distance away from the county tile determine your benefits. Over a 25-year period, the benefits on County Ditch 72 are just over $906,000. And again, on this system, on the estimated assessment, we use $2,000. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of Mr. Behrens? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll open the public hearing for any comments and anyone wishing to address the authority on County Ditch 72. I see none, but I will ask again. Anyone wishing to discuss County Ditch 72? I would ask Jackie if there has been any written comment on that issue that came to your office.
No.
There has been no written commentary, and there appears to be no public testimony. I close the public hearing. And at this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve benefits presented to us for County Ditch 72.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Commissioner Kolars. Any discussion? Call the question.
Looking?
Yes.
Kolar?
Yes.
Morrow?
Yes.
Rental?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes, unanimous. Thank you. Are you going to be offering our special amendments here?
I think we'll do, well, I'll move.
Well, I'll take care of currently listed item 9. I did have a procedural question, if I may ask of our county attorney. Since we changed that order when reading it into the record, should we amend that original?
I did as I was reading it.
I know you did, but I think the original motion talked about item 9, and I didn't want to confuse the issue. So that's why I'm asking that question before. We'll take care of this one, and then we'll go back and fix the other.
And
I
it's
just want to
really
make
the
sure it was all,
substance
I'm
that
sorry.
It's the substance of your finding that's more important than the number, so I think
Okay.
I think we're fine on the other one.
We'll find either way. Okay, very well. The proposed findings have been given to each board member. At this time, I would like you to review all of the findings. And I would entertain a motion to approve on your current list item 9, which is reports made or amended are complete and correct.
Mr. Chair, I will move that the reports were made complete and correct.
I will second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passed. We would now entertain a motion to approve all other findings as proposed.
Turning to the county attorney first, I'm understanding that maybe item 6 would be, again, deleted and order number 3.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Chair, members, I would move findings 1 through, I would remove item 6, finding 6, remove order 3. On item 7, amended to read no public comment or questions were received, that we renumber accordingly. And I would move the findings 1 through what appears on our sheet 1 through 10. We've already approved finding 9.
We have a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Drannell. All those in favor, let's call the question.
Morrow?
Aye.
Rental?
Yes.
Looking?
Yes.
Kolar?
Yes.
Yes. I think we are now back to you, Madam County Attorney.
Before the Nicollet County Board of Commissioners, I comes Drainage Authority for County Ditch number 72, findings of fact and order regarding redetermination of benefits for Nicollet County Ditch number 72. The Drainage Authority, having completed its deliberations and examination of all the files and records herein, its hearing of all interested persons, and its consideration of all reports, makes the following findings. Number 1, a redetermination of benefits was ordered for Nicollet County Ditch 72. Number 2, Mark Behrens, Robert Hansen, Kendall Langstaff, and Joe Mulchler were appointed viewers to submit a redetermination of benefits report and a benefits and damages statement. Number 3, a public hearing was held on February 26, 2019 in the Commissioners' Room of the Nicollet County Government Center in St. Peter, Minnesota. Number 4, Public Services Manager Jackie Coker provided the following jurisdictional documentation and notices. Affidavit of posting dated February 7, 2019. Affidavit of mailed notice dated February 7, 2019.
affidavit of publication dated February 7th, 14th, and 21st, 2019. Viewer Mark Behrens explaining the method of determining benefits and damages under the redetermination of benefits and went through the viewer's redetermination benefits report and the benefits and damages statement. The viewer's report as filed showed $906,903 in net benefits associated with Nicollet County Ditch 72. Number 6, no public comment or questions were received. Number 7, the detailed viewer's redetermination of benefits report and benefit and damages statement has been made and all of the proceedings have been completed as required by law. Number 8, the reports made were complete and correct. Number 9, the benefits and damages of the proposed redetermination have been properly determined. Now therefore is ordered as follows. Number 1, the viewer's report on file herein and the assessment of benefits and damages stated therein attached as Exhibit A is hereby adopted. Number 2, the redetermined benefits and damages and benefit and damaged areas shall take place of and shall be used in determining assessments from the date of approval. Number 3, the Public Services Manager is directed to take all necessary actions to implement this redetermination of benefits. And number 4, the appeal period will be 30 days after this order is signed and filed in the Public Services Office, dated February 26, 2018, to be signed by Denny Kemp, Chairperson of Drainage Authority, attested to by Ryan Fresh.
Thank you. Are there any other matters that you'd like to discuss, Madam County Attorney, on this topic? Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the Drainage Authority meeting.
So moved.
A motion.
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Behrens, for all your work. Appreciate it.